Is this a metal thing?
Yes. Little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Break.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits. Mistletoe alert. This is backcountry.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Ugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, she's such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso. Horror.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Plus. That's right, folks. We're now transcended genre boundaries and sometimes cover other movies. I used to think I only liked horror, but one night it slipped into comedy that tickled me in a new way, and here we are. So make sure that you rate and review and subscribe on iTunes. Full video available on YouTube. Don't be a square. Make sure to share. Also, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/horrormovietalk. The equivalent of the adult section of your video rental store. If you want to add your pee to the community pool, join our community. Follow the links on horrormovietalk.com or call 682-253-4468 and leave us a voicemail. As always, we have Fart Simpson crammed into the production booth. I'm Bryce Hamson, and across from me sits David Doy, the island boy extraordinaire.
Yeah, there's a little confusion, Bryce, about like why you guys aren't covering just horror movies anymore. Like, is this like Horror Movie Talk Plus or something? Like, what is this? What even is this? Mm-hmm. And the answer is yes, it's Horror Movie Talk Plus now. We do other movies too.
Yep.
So FYI, if you have that question, this is us answering that as directly as we can.
Yeah, I mean, we said it right in the beginning of the show, so, I mean, What is there to say?
They're not, you turn your brain off at the start of a show.
Listen, we're still covering horror movies. It's about half and half. This will be my first episode where I don't choose a horror movie for my episode. I'm really excited to talk about this. I've kind of teased this for a while, and this is kind of what got me excited. Was now we can just make David watch movies that I know he hasn't seen. And top of that list, what I found out over the years is David has never seen True Lies.
Never
so
seen
this
it.
week, we're reviewing True Lies from 1994. Hell yeah. The Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Cameron directed action comedy romance movie. Action rom-com.
Delightful.
We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the film. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. And so if you haven't seen True Lies, you know what? I don't really have a lot of sympathy for you. It's been 30 years at this point. I think there's a certain point where you can just spoil the movie. Anyways, if you don't want it spoiled, you can bounce at before we get into spoilers. Later on, we'll be playing a new game, which seems appropriate, called Two Truths and a Lie. For True Lies. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it. True Lies can be found on Paramount Plus right now. I'm wearing their logo right now.
Low key, Paramount Plus that's my service.
Yeah.
That's the one that I use all the time. It has great...
Paramount is like neck and neck, and it's starting to surpass HBO Max. And I'm a little worried once they make the transition to Max.
It's doing it right now. They're like in the total absolute middle of that transition.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to transfer over all the Discovery content, isn't it?
Oh, I guess not. I know they're in the middle of their brand. Like the brand is now Max. It's
right. Yeah, it's going to officially switch over in
all
like
the cool
6
kids.
days.
All the cool kids change their brand.
Right.
That's what you do if you're cool. So that's why we changed to Horror Movie Talk Plus. But Paramount Plus,
my
it's
brand,
got all the Star Trek, all of it. It's got True Lies, and that's really all you need to know.
And I was just telling David before we started rolling. He told me I would have wasted this story on me, but in terms of the Paramount logo, like I had a shit the other day where the water line was about there. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty epic. In case
so
you
the mountain was poking above the water line.
Yeah, I mean you'll have to see it on YouTube to get the visual joke, but
right.
yeah, Paramount Plus is actually a fantastic streaming service, and it's on there. So True Lies tries to answer the question: what would happen if James Bond had to go home and explain himself to his wife? Arnold Schwarzenegger plays Harry Tasker, an elite American spy that travels the world preventing the apocalypse by fighting terrorists. He does all this unbeknownst to his wife, Helen, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and daughter, Dana, played by Eliza Dushku, who think he's a boring computer salesman.
Who think he a boring computer salesman. Less words do more good.
Did I not...
You're
Did
just
I
Kevin.
Say his?
You're just Kevin from The Office.
All right, shut up. While on the trail of a terrorist with his partner Gib, played by Tom Arnold, Harry discovers that his wife may be cheating on him. To prevent nuclear holocaust and the dissolution of his marriage, Harry starts to mix his worlds. Hilariousness ensues. True Lies is in a genre of its own. There's been one or two movies that try to replicate it, but just do not do it justice. It's action, romantic comedy. And the most impressive part about the movie is, of which there are many, is the balancing act between those genres and tones throughout. Like, it's such a three-way balance of those genres, and it doesn't have any one of them dominate completely. Tying it all together is a cast of actors that are all operating at peak performance. This, to me, is Arnold Schwarzenegger's best performance in his career. He's at peak charisma and really steps up his acting chops to meet the shifts in tone and subtlety required by the script. Jamie Lee Curtis similarly walks the line between genres, dancing between drama and comedy as her character tries to shake up her humdrum life, and her seductive scene will forever be seared into the memory of every teenage boy in the 90s. David, move your head. Just let me... Okay. Yeah. All right. Tom Arnold and Bill Paxton do a lot of heavy lifting as the comedic relief. Tom Arnold especially surprises everyone by being likable and hilarious throughout. His relationship with Schwarzenegger is believable and natural as longtime partners. And Bill Paxton chews the scenery as a smarmy car salesman con man. All along, the film has some of the best action sequences of the 90s, which is saying a lot. I mean, late 80s, 90s action was like, this is before CGI took over, and so this is like still super impressive and visceral in terms of like, you know that a lot of this is actually happening. Those explosions are real, and there's some stuntman that's probably getting hurt, which makes it better. I mean, this is an easy 10 out of 10 for me, and like, it's surprising to me that True Lies isn't talked about in a reverent tone whenever people mention it, because like, out of all of Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies, this one seems to me to stand out as like, this is exactly what Arnold Schwarzenegger should be doing. It highlights all of his talents, and it shows what can be done with like just a fantastic director, script, and cast. So I give it an easy 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah, I mean that's super fair. I think okay, so you got Lethal.
Oh yeah, did I mention that this was directed by James Cameron?
This is the thing that just blows my mind about this movie. Is I'm sitting there at the title screen like, okay, a James Cameron movie I haven't seen. This is pretty impressive just in and of itself. But and then it ends up being this, and like the credits are like, yeah, he wrote it too, and I'm like, What? And so, cause I'm laughing, I'm like, this movie is self-aware, and funny, a self-aware comedy by James Cameron, old Jimmy Cam. And like, I've watched a lot of documentaries and the making of like my favorite James Cameron movies, because they're some of the most impressive movies ever made, like they just are. Aliens, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Terminator, The Abyss, Titanic, Pandora, like, or whatever that one is. Like, he's a bit of a chameleon, but the one thing he can't hide is his over-the-top, amazing action chops. But you just don't, like, in all of those documentaries and stuff, you don't hear stuff like, James is so funny. You do not hear that ever. Like, everyone's like, he's kind of a bitch. I really did not enjoy him as a person. And so you kind of get this. Anyway, so it's impressive that if he did actually write this by himself, I'm like, slow clap. It's just amazing, because it's so unique in its tone that I feel like it birthed the genre of comedy action movies. Like, I mean, look, there's Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, but those are just straight ahead action movies. Yeah. And obviously you got to have a little light banter thrown in, but this is first a comedy movie, like at its premise.
Right.
And it birthed this. I mean, this gave Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson a career. Like, I mean, movies like The Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, and Baywatch, and Rampage, and anything with that little guy who goes into movies with Dwayne Johnson,
Kevin Hart.
Thank you, Kevin Hart. Anything with those two, like the other guys, like this is the start of that. But none of them come close to this. Like, they're all subpar because their premises aren't intriguing. This is an intriguing premise with insane over-the-top action. Like, and the ultimate part of the action at the end, I was rolling on the floor, laughing, rolling on the floor. I've never been so delighted. Never have I been so delighted at the way a movie chose to, like, go out with a bang. I was just like, wee, it was so much fun. And at some point it switches gears so frequently. At one point, like, the first part of the movie, pretty good. It's a movie, but then the movie just decides to literally be a vehicle for Jamie Lee Curtis's amazing rack, which I didn't even know existed. Like, up until now, I was like, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, she's a good-looking gal. And then I watched True Lies, and I was like, whoa. And that was the rest of the movie was like, yeah, but have you seen these? Say goodbye to these, David. And I was like, holy moly, oh boy, look at those sweater puppies. And she's just it was like somebody it was like James Cameron approached her and was like, listen, you got an opportunity here to let the world know that you have a special gift from God. And she was like, my acting chops? And he was like, no. So, yeah, easy 10 out of 10. It's so funny. Tom Arnold just crushes it. Same with Bill Paxton, crushes it. Everybody in this movie crushes it. It's the best performance of so many people's career. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely Bill Paxton, and definitely, Tom Arnold.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tom Arnold, like, seems like out of the blue. Like Tom Arnold at this point was like a joke. He was like, he's Roseanne's ex-husband. And that's like, I guess he was a stand-up comedian, and I think he was an actor in a couple things, but no one took him seriously. It was like, oh, look at this guy making all this money from his divorce. And he comes in this movie and like just crushes it as that character. Like the chemistry is off the charts between him and Arnold. Between Arnold and Arnold. Yeah, I mean, the shifts in tone, like, it's crazy. I mean, when you look at like a movie going experience, and like for me, it's very simple. Doesn't make me feel anything, other than boredom. If yes, then you got something going for you. And like, it's weird to go from like exhilaration from the action, like genuine, like, butterflies in your stomach from some of these stunts, to like having like a real heartfelt scene, like that interrogation scene where it's like it kind of goes into psyche and kind of like you almost like really, you're pained for this woman, to just laughing out loud from just some of the just like little quips between Tom Arnold and Arnold Schwarzenegger,
to fully erect.
I mean, it's crazy. It's really, really impressive. And James Cameron is obviously like just one of the best directors of all time, because he can juggle all that and get those performances and cut it up and tell just a super compelling story that doesn't have any bad beats in it, It covers
the entire range of masculine emotion. Sad, mad, funny, horny.
Yeah. Sad, mad, excited, funny, horny. Yeah. I don't think we have a need for any other emotions.
What's toxic about that? Tell me. I dare you. We laugh about it, but inside, we're crying with our boners in our hands.
We have a good time, but we have way higher suicide statistics. So
that's just the follow through, ladies. Sorry. But that's why I'm joining the other team.
I mean, just look at behind you. I mean, there's two reasons right there.
Yeah. Like, who wouldn't love that?
Okay, so moving on. If you hear any commercials on this episode, did you just hear some commercials? Well, you should know that you don't have to hear those commercials. If you join our Patreon, there's an option to get early access to episodes as soon as they're released, or as soon as they're edited, and we cut out all the commercials for you. So go to patreon.com/horrormovietalk and check out our tiers there. Also, you get access to our Afterpod, which is just whole nother podcast, really, where we talk about what's going on in our lives and just leave the mics running after the show. You can support us also a couple different ways. We got a shop at horrormovietalk.com shop. You can buy our logo tees. Limited edition now. I mean, we're not going to make any more of the old logo tees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I better update the quantities on those before this episode comes out.
Check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He's a professional artist who fucks hard. He's been knocking it out of the park with his recent artwork for the last couple episodes. I've really been loving it. He's been integrating it and stepping it up for YouTube. He also takes commissions from fans. So reach out to him on Instagram at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. If you want to leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. Thanks again for listening. Let's get into spoilers. Okay, so Yeah, we talked about it briefly. We didn't want to ruin the banter or anything, but you told me like what was the point at which the movie won you over?
Okay, so at the intro, all right, let me take you through my progression of feelings for the first 20 minutes of this movie. I was like, oh, I've seen the intro I've tried this a few times, tried starting it once or twice, and the intro is so hokey 90s James Bond Mission Impossible feeling to me, now don't get me wrong, if it had been third or fourth grade me, I'd have been like, fuck yeah, dude. But it's me. So I was just like, yeah, I don't have the energy for this brand of movie, so I just would turn it off. So, but this time I went into it going, oh, this is one of Bryce's very favorite movies. And then immediately I was like, oh, this makes total sense, right? I was like, oh, yeah. Bryce is a huge James Bond and Mission Impossible fanboy, loves it, has always, it's kind of a warm spot for you. And so I immediately was like, oh, yeah, this is like James Bond turned up to 11. And so I went, oh, yeah, this makes total sense. And then I was kind of like rolling my eyes for about 15 minutes. And then there was a chase sequence between a motorcycle and Arnold on a horse. And I was like, this is kind of cool. This is kind of neat. And then the horse got onto an elevator. And I was like, I'm in. I understand now. I get it. And then the horse, and there's like a 3-minute sequence where this horse is on this elevator.
Right.
With Arnold on it.
Right.
And then it's an elevator chase scene. There's an elevator chase scene where a man on a motorcycle is in one elevator and Arnold on a horse is in another elevator, and the elevators are vertically chasing each other, and they're looking at each other all angry, and the horse is like, and I was like, it's like, yes, this is movie.
Yeah.
Every part of me was like, I get it. This is funny. It's fun. And then he sternly talks to the horse when the man gets away, and he's like, what are you doing? We get the horse. Oh, wow. He turned into someone else. He wasn't Arnold.
He turned into a Russian. Wow. If Arnold was on Red October.
What are you doing? Do an Arnold impression. Do it. Okay, that's just a cop-out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this opening sequence, it's obviously like very, yeah, it's straight out of a James Bond movie. It's like, it is a James Bond opening. And just, it's so slick. Arnold, is swimming underwater. He like cuts into this underwater gate. And then I think the part where it's like, for some reason is indelibly, seared into my mind is he sticks a big ass Bowie knife through the ice at the top. And I'm just like, knives are cool. And it's like all these like preteen, just action movie cool scenes. Like it just hits all the marks. He comes out, and like the moment he rips off this like rubber scuba suit, and he's just got a full-on tuxedo underneath, and he just looks immaculate. You're like, yes, that's me. That's me right there. That's what I am. Like, you, the desire to be that cool, that's like the draw of James Bond and like the Mission Impossible and like some of these action movies, and it hits all those marks perfectly. Like instantly, you're like, that's so cool. I want to see more of this. I want to see a cool guy do cool things. And then he proceeds to
cool guy
do cool things. That tango scene with Tia Carrera at the beginning, like, fuck, do I need to learn how to tango so I can dance with Tia Carrera?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. And all along, like the main difference between James Bond, I mean, it's very easy to just duplicate Secret Agent, but from the beginning, it really lays down the groundwork for the relationship between Tom Arnold and Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, because there's just like a lot. Tom Arnold is speaking to him over like the earpiece, and there's a lot of really natural repartee between them, and you see like the relationship of Tom Arnold just being exasperated that, you know, this secret agent just does whatever he wants and is, you know, so unbelievably suave, and then he just has to sit in a van and like tell him what needs to be done. So that's great. And then the other best part of this opening sequence is when he's running away in the snow and these Doberman pinschers are running after him, and there's a moment where Arnold turns around and both Doberman pinschers leap at him and are mid-air, and he claps the dogs' heads together. Which is just so ridiculous but cool.
It is.
And then it shows that the dogs are okay. That shows the dogs after. Actually, there's not a lot of respect for dogs in this movie between that scene and then like
the little
the scene
Chihuahua
where,
scene. I was like, oh man, I bet PETA had a fucking conniption fit over that.
Yeah, it's like a great visual joke later in the movie where Harry Tasker, the character Arnold Schwarzenegger plays, is going out in the rain to meet Tom Arnold's character in a van, and he's just like, you know, Schwarzenegger is giant, and in this pouring rain, and he's just like dragging by the neck this poor little tiny Chihuahua behind him.
Not just dragging, like yanking it.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, if you're a big fan of dogs, like, you know, maybe skip this one. But
I will say, Tia Carrera, like she just does voice stuff now, so you don't see her anymore. Still crushingly gorgeous. I mean, just a sight to behold, which is impressive.
Yeah,
you know, because it's wow, holy moly. Poof. Okay, let's move on. Moving on.
So we see him like do this whole James Bond opening sequence, and instead of having like the James Bond credits, it just shows Harry go home and has this reveal that he has this normal middle class family waiting for him. It's almost like, I mean, the Mad Men almost did the same kind of thing in its pilot, whereas like, you know, it shows this super handsome like coxman like going out and doing whatever he wants.
Coxman?
I don't know. I think I just made that word up. Let's look it up.
You know,
I just assume it's a man led by his cock. A man reputed to be extremely virile or sexually accomplished.
wow.
You know, I just pulled that out.
Dang.
No
No,
pun
yeah, it's a
intended.
very Superman-y sort of thing. It's like, well, there's Superman and then there's Clark Kent. Yeah.
Right. And then like, yeah, it's he goes home and we find out that like, oh, he's leading this double life where he tells his family that he's like a super boring computer salesman and while saving the world. And so you know, this sets it up just as like this great, you know, premise. And apparently the origin of this movie, or like the reason why it got made, is that it's kind of a remake of a French movie made in 91 called The Jackpot. So apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger saw this movie, and it's similar premise. A secret agent uses his professional skills for tracking his family and faces the unexpected consequences. So I think it has kind of a similar double life thing going on in this French movie. And he came to James Cameron and said, like, why don't we make something like this? And I think James Cameron was,
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, let's make this movie. It's French, but we can't hold that against it.
and So I mean, it is kind of a takeoff on this movie, which is interesting. I think the difference is like the scale at which James Cameron plays, especially with action, is unprecedented. So it's like you put someone like James Cameron that just, I mean, he made Terminator 2 a couple years before this, and it's like, oh, you know, the most legendary action movies of all time made by this guy, and you put him in like, well, why don't we do like kind of a, you know, an action comedy romance thing and have like, so yeah, it's an oddity, especially in James Cameron's career.
Okay.
But it
Question.
all works.
Can I insert a question? What where does this fall in terms of James Cameron directed movies for you?
Yeah, I mean that's a little harder because I mean I can say like this is definitely Schwarzenegger's best movie.
This is this is Schwarzenegger's best movie.
To me, I think it's his best role. Like
it's
like
pretty good. It's pretty fucking great.
Like I think about I mean the Terminator stuff is like iconic, but like that doesn't show what Schwarzenegger can do. And then
right,
like there's Kindergarten Cop and some of these and like Twins, and it's like, yeah, he's got comedic chops, but you're not fully utilizing Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then this one just blends the action and comedy and like
compelling
really
argument.
allows him to actually act like impressively. Let's see.
Okay, so here we go. Piranha 2, The Spawning. The Terminator, followed directly by Aliens, and then The Abyss. Terminator 2, Judgment Day, True Lies, Titanic. You got Avatar, and then the second Avatar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this the best? Is this the best James Cameron movie for you?
I mean, it's hard. I mean, it feels like I'd feel guilty for saying it is his best one.
Ooh, I like this.
Because I look at Terminator 2.
It's perfect.
And Titanic. I'm like, oh, you know, or even Avatar. It's like, oh, the movies that made more money than God, you know, up to that point.
This is fucking blowing my mind right now. Last week, you had a rant about now people are going to watch a movie about buying a fucking shoe. And now you're like, it made the most money. So, like, don't do that. Don't turn it into a money thing.
That's two separate things. Like, one is about spending money to tell a story about a product, which is the part I have a problem with. The part where the movie makes the most money, I don't have a problem with that. And I'm unapologetic that I say, like, that's at least an indication of how good it is for general audiences, or like how popular it is.
Kind of like how much money a shoe makes is an indication of how important it is in the world. No, I'm just joking. I'm just trying to get under your skin here.
It's working. No, I mean,
damn
like,
it, that fucking shoe.
Like what Cameron is going to be remembered for is Avatar, Titanic, and Terminator 2. Like, those are the movies that he's really going to be remembered for.
But Aliens also.
Even Aliens is going to take a back seat to those three, you know.
So which is it for you?
But True Lies, like, I don't know. If you were to hold a gun to my head, I would probably pick Terminator 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think in terms of just being like having your mouth open the whole time and just being like, what the fuck? Just cool shit constantly. Come on, get the fuck out of here. Titanic. One nipple and everybody's going to lose their goddamn mind. He had a grenade launcher.
He did the thing where he spun the shotgun and shot behind him, you know?
It's like, God damn, this is so fucking cool.
Okay, so we're seeing more of the domestic life. Find out that things aren't like ideal because, you know, his wife is, you know, pretty bored with him. His daughter is, you know, casually stealing money from Tom Arnold. And you see that life, and then they go back to their office, which is the Omega Sector, led by Nick Fury, played by Charlton Heston. And one of my favorite parts of this is they walk into the Omega Sector office, and I don't know if you noticed, I didn't notice it until this viewing, but they walk in the door, and there's guards after the door opens, but they're behind like a glass wall. Like,
I didn't notice.
Why are they behind a glass wall? It's just bizarre.
Oh, hey ho! I called it a squirrel. Speaking of Eliza Dushku.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was in that, wasn't she?
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
She was the main actress in Wrong Turn.
That's true. And so yeah, they're tracking down these terrorists, you know, from the opening scene, and that's when the giant action set piece of they're being followed by a trio of terrorists, and it starts out with a fight in the bathroom, which I realize now is almost completely copied by the last Mission Impossible movie, I think, which had like Tom Cruise and what's his name? It's not Armie Hammer. It's the guy that cocks his arms to fight. Anyways, like there's a couple bathroom fight scenes that basically copy this one in its entirety. There's this one. Also, the Casino Royale bathroom fight is kind of reminiscent of it too, but just like white tile giant bathroom, and people are fighting with guns and like just demolishing a bathroom. Yeah,
no, there was a couple moments in this movie where I was like, oh, The Matrix just ripped this off directly. Like,
right.
Just whole cloth. Like, didn't even disguise it. It was like a tribute almost.
Yeah.
Like, the Matrix did the helicopter Gatling gun thing that, you know, the Harrier jet does in this movie in 94. You know, it does the tile room fight. You know, it's like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. There's a bit of trivia on IMDb that talks about this bathroom fight sequence. It says in the script it was only a half page and only mentioned a struggle but no specifics. And when James Cameron came onto the set 2 days before the scene was supposed to be filmed, he said the bathroom needed to be 3 times bigger for all the shooting, fighting, and other destruction that he had in mind. And so like all this stuff, and so they had to like rebuild that entire bathroom in like 2 days. And it's a great sequence, a great like fight sequence, and then probably the best part of it is the old man in the toilet during the whole thing, and then him shuffling out and looking afterward. Yeah, I like it how in these like bathroom scenes where there's just you know machine guns going off, and like no one pokes their head in the bathroom. It's like, what the fuck is going on in here?
Is everything okay? Yeah, no, the. Oh no, I've lost. No, I remember now. It seems like to be like a truly great director, you really need to be a Karen. You know, like you really need to be like inconvenience everybody because you have it in your head that it needs to be your way. Like I would never be like, guys, I know you just spent the last 6 days on this set, but fuck you and do it again 3 times as big. Like, imagine inconveniencing a crew of people.
Right.
And then being like, look, the bathroom needs to be 3 times this big. I wouldn't say that in my own house. He's like,
yeah, I wouldn't be like, honey, I think you're putting the dishes in the dishwasher a little wrong. Let me show you how to do it better. It's like, no, I'd just be like, I'll just let her do what she needs to do.
We do not disturb the wildlife.
But
it's like,
yeah, I mean, that's like the thing where you see like what it takes to be a great director is like just like a vision, like connect. I think people don't realize how hard it is between like and how disjointed every moment of filming is.
Yeah.
Like you've got to spend 3 hours to get like a 5-second shot, and to spend like days and days getting little tiny bits and pieces shot out of order, and then to have someone who is responsible that their mind is going to put it together and make it all make sense.
It's an amazing amount of self-confidence.
Yeah. And not only that, but like having that vision and having like that specificity of like communicating through the art form and like being responsible to be like the main storyteller, while also like having that vision to be able to make all the decisions that need to be made to accomplish that vision.
Yeah.
Is impressive.
And it's so interesting that you're as hung up on this bathroom scene as me, because I saw this scene and I was like, oh, this is very intentional. Like, I was like, the way that bathroom, I've walked into that bathroom before, like that one, mostly in movie theaters, right? Or stadiums, where there's a middle wall partition, and there's maybe stalls on this side and there's maybe urinals on that side. But in the middle, there's a partition and there's sinks on that, and this is a common layout for a bathroom, but it's also really important to this scene that partition be there, because we're circling it and we're in and out of stalls. We're underneath all of those partitions. And he didn't make a bathroom that doesn't exist, like Saw, that bathroom doesn't exist. But he made a bathroom so big and specific and real that you're like, oh, yeah. No, this is important that it be that way, because this is a set piece in a movie made of set pieces that are all memorable.
Yeah. So the bathroom fight and then transitions into a chase of this one terrorist, like the main terrorist, played by
a real jerk.
I mean, this guy was a real jerk.
He was Grant Heslov, Grant Heslov plays
Faisal.
Faisal?
Yeah, sure. So there's a chase, and this is where like the bad guy grabs a motorcycle, and then Arnold hijacks a police horse, and it's just a visual treat.
Yeah.
And James Cameron knows exactly what he's doing, and like sets it up using all the tropes of the action genre, and like just very, very skillfully used slow-mo for dramatic purpose. Like when there's the scene where the horse jumps into the fountain in the hotel lobby, is like in slow-mo and just so dramatic, and then it cuts to like Tom Arnold's face, is like, okay.
Yeah,
like,
it's so cool because the movie understands itself through certain characters.
Right.
It's in that moment, it's Tom Arnold being like, is this the craziest movie you've ever seen? And you're like, yeah, and I like it. Yeah. And he's like, but it's funny too, right? And you're like, mm-hmm. It's like,
yeah. And then the elevator chase happens, and then the great scene where they're on the roof and the bad guy drives off the roof into like a pool that looks like it's about a mile away. 4,000
miles away. He sees another lower high rise that he's going to jump into the pool of.
And then there's the reaction of Harry is like, I could make this. And it's this really dramatic like wind up. And it's this slow-mo where you're like, holy shit, he's going to jump that fucking horse across the building. This is going to be so badass. He's so like, and then the horse just like puts on the brakes, like
Nopes big time.
lock knees, and then Arnold goes ass over tea kettle over the horse's head.
How much do you think Marriott had to pay for that spot?
A lot.
Yeah.
And so this is all going on, and then the interpersonal drama is that it causes him to miss his birthday party that his wife and daughter put on for him, where they definitely made sure that he was going to make it. And so it's setting up all this like, oh, Harry's kind of an asshole. Like,
Yeah.
like he's a badass, but really, if you were to think about what he's doing to his family, he just doesn't really actually care
Right.
about them. He's living this double life and like living the cover, but doesn't seem like because it's hard to, from his perspective,
He's saving
how much
the world.
Yeah, he's literally saving the world. And there's a scene where it like cuts back between, Jamie Lee Curtis's character talking about Harry's work and saying it's not like he's saving the world or anything. And it literally it cut from a scene where he was talking about preventing nuclear war.
Yeah. By the way, I need to correct myself. Faisal is not the bad guy. He's one of the good guys.
That's right.
Aziz, played by Art Malik. So my apologies.
That's right. Art Malik. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So
Who is going to be in the new Little Mermaid, by the way, as Sir Grimsby.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, and then the movie really shifts gears because we find out Harry is going to try to make it up to his wife the next day by taking her out to lunch, and then he inadvertently finds out that she might be having an affair because he catches her talking on the phone to some mysterious stranger, and he comes out just crestfallen, and this is one of the best interchanges between Tom Arnold and Schwarzenegger, which is Tom Arnold just being like, "Oh man, welcome to the club." Like,
I thought it was something bad.
it's like there's like just a couple just fantastic lines in this interchange, and then
Dude,
he like
if I
tops it off
learned
with,
that I was losing this, I'd be crushed too. I'd be like,
right.
na, 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 na.
And then like it ends with Tom Arnold trying to cheer him up. It's like, come on, man, let's go kill some terrorists. Like, let's cheer you up. Let's go fight some terrorists.
We're gonna
Uh-huh.
we're gonna do
And-
this super shallow thing that's gonna make us happy because our lives don't have any meaning otherwise.
And it takes this side quest, and Harry starts like abusing the resources that he has for this terrorist investigation to try to investigate who his wife is having an affair with.
Yeah.
And it leads to the discovery of Bill Paxton's character, which, from Helen's perspective, is a super secret agent, and basically is what Harry's character actually is.
He's pretending to be what Harry's character actually is.
And he even like takes credit for literally like the hotel chase thing that happened, and you realize like, oh, this guy's a fraud, and they find out he's actually just a used car salesman that scams, lonely housewives.
Yeah, this is the part where the movie becomes really, truly interesting because it's two movies that
Right.
wrap into one.
Right. And so there's another great scene where, like, I mean, basically Jamie Lee Curtis is almost date raped, but then it's interrupted with, the entire Omega sector falling, coming through the trailer home to kidnap Bill Paxton and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, low key, like, what? A total misuse of government funds.
They would never.
They would never.
That's a great line too, is like, "Oh, you're going to turn me in, Tom Arnold?" It's like so I'll
That's
just
a serious offense. That's a federal offense.
he's
Wiretap
like-
my fucking house.
And then Arnold goes like, I guess I'll tell him about the time that you screwed up a 6-week operation to get a blowjob. Like, you knew about that? He's like, yeah. All right, so take Highway 99 instead. I think that's faster. Like just the interchange. And so what happens is like Harry interrogates her in this interrogation room scene, which is also fantastic, which is like a great scene where Tom Arnold is like totally like overstepping his bounds, like, so you fucked him, right? And Harry is like trying to find out what's actually wrong about their marriage, or like why she would do this, or all this stuff. And Tom Arnold's just trying to figure out like how much she actually blew the guy, kind of thing.
And he's so insistent.
Yeah. And so Harry decides to like give his wife a little excitement by giving her a fake mission. And that's where the most important scene of the movie happens, which is Jamie Lee Curtis like acting like a special agent to play basically a call girl that's placing a bug in this hotel phone. And it is probably one of the sexiest scenes ever on film. Like, this is way, way more sexy than almost every sex scene that I've seen in movies. Like, I can't think of a sex scene that's more sexy than this striptease.
Because it's real, and she falls down halfway through, but then gets right back up.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, she's a real person. And to a man, that's a very important, it's like, oh, this is accessible. I can do this, like
she has weakness.
Well, no, I mean, for a lot of men, I think we idealize women a lot, and it's
right.
like, oh, she's perfect. You think that, well, I do, more than any other thought is like, women are perfect. And so, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, other than I really like how human they made Jamie Lee Curtis. She's a real person.
Right. And yeah, so the scene is basically Arnold is replaying a tape that was pre-recorded, giving Jamie Lee Curtis instructions on what to do and how to strip. And then I realized like halfway through, I'm like, oh, I think this is where the origin of my casting couch porn fetish, which is literally like telling someone that, is nervous to undress in a specific way. I'm like, yeah, this feels right. And it's just one of those connections that I was like, oh, this was formative to my taste.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So from there, the terrorists kidnap Harry and Helen, and then it's revealed, that Harry is a secret agent to Helen, and there's kind of a, all the circumstances there, and then there's a great scene where Harry is given the truth serum, and Helen asks him all these questions, and my favorite part is how it ends. Like, have you ever killed anyone? And he's like, yeah, but they were all bad.
They were all bad people.
Just a great line. And then the last part of the movie, I mean, this skipping over a lot. I mean, the scene where they're on an island, like they have the nuclear bomb, they're going to set it off as like a demonstration, and then Helen gets separated from Harry, and it's assumed that Harry just blew up, but we know that he didn't. And then there's a great set piece where there's a chase down this Florida Keys highway with two Harrier jets, which I don't know about you, but I didn't know those things existed until this movie. And I'm like, oh, well, that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, no,
jets can take off vertically.
As a kid, I don't know why. Now coming to think of it, like it's a little bit of a tangential thing in my childhood, but I knew everything about jets. Every fucking thing. I knew every one that you could know about, you know. It's like, oh, F-117, you know, I knew about all the different bombers, all the different fighters. The Harrier was obviously on my radar. I loved, you know, the one I was super in love with was the A-10 Warthog. I was like, you know, like I just had all of these in my head. I don't know why or how, because the internet wasn't really a thing. I must have had like books.
Dude, have you ever gone on YouTube and just watched like Warthog videos?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's like,
if you describe a Warthog...
if you want to get close to coming by watching a machine gun, watch Warthog videos.
Okay, all right. Now we're doing this. I'm going to take 30 seconds to a minute to do this. Let's get a timer. So a Warthog, for those of you who don't know for some reason, is a tank-killing jet. It is built around, first and foremost, a Gatling gun that's the length of the jet. All right? Because it needs to shoot massive, like, uranium-tipped bullets that can pierce the, like, several-foot armor of tanks. All right? And as these things wind up, they make this ungodly sound. It's like, bzzz, and then they just unleash, nuclear bullets into tanks. And so they're a jet around built around a fucking absolutely gigantic machine gun that flies.
Yeah, normally there's a jet, which is a plane that has guns on it. The Warthog is a gun that has
flies.
that has a jet built onto it.
Right. It's fucking bonkers. It's the coolest thing. If you watch videos of this, you will come in your pants. Whoever you are.
So the Harrier jets are like exploding the highway. There's a couple great little vignettes there, and then Harry is on a helicopter and chasing down this limousine with his wife in it.
It's so great.
And it's the scene where he like grabs her arm and lifts her out. Doesn't lift her out. The car falls away from her. She like goes through the moonroof. It's just visually, there's so many
cool.
just great visual scenes in this.
Yeah, it's like he thought, it's like a little kid playing with toys and like thinking of the coolest thing that he can do. Like, because
Right.
you don't do this anymore, but your kid, you watch them do this shit all the time. They're like, and you're like, they're doing a thing that's cool in their head. That's what that's what James is doing here. He's like doing a thing that you didn't know you needed to see, but you do.
Yeah. And then the final like scenes of the movie is after Helen is rescued, they land, and then it's revealed that like, oh, the terrorist took your daughter. They have Dana.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck.
While a nuclear bomb is exploding in the background, you're like, this movie's done now. And then they're like, no. We're going to kiss in front of a nuclear bomb exploding. And that's not the end of the movie. There's even better action to come.
Right. And so Harry steals one of the Harrier jets and goes down to the high rise where these terrorists are. And it's just proceeds to just have one of the most badass finale scenes of like the jet hovering and just demolishing an entire floor of a high rise and then rescuing his daughter off of a crane and like having
it's the coolest.
the final bad guy terrorist like almost getting to him. And
like
then, is that the scene that you were talking about? Was the
you're fired? I fucking died laughing. I was like, that's the most Arnold. Like after this, they made a whole like the delivery of that line was so important to Arnold's career. Like if you look at it in retrospect, like somebody wrote Batman Forever around that line. Like everybody chill, cool party, freeze, that's the line that built then Arnold's career into one-liners. And that moment where the bad guy is hanging on a jet, is hanging on the like a Stinger missile, by the backpack. And you're like, oh no, he's got a machine gun and it's pointed at Arnold, who's hovering hundreds of feet in the air in a city with his daughter hanging on by a thread on the top of the thing. You're like, oh no, could end so poorly. The whole time, the precipice, they're on the, oh no, how is he going to get rid of him? He fires the Stinger missile after saying, you're fired. He fires the Stinger missile and it goes and it blows up the bad guy's helicopter. And I just laughed so hard because there's a moment when he's flying on the missile. He's like, ah! Like, I was like,
yeah. It's like so over the top and dumb that like it just shows you how good the movie is to sell that. And you're like, awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. The movie earned that. If you had just had Lethal Weapon and that did that, it wouldn't quite work as well as a movie that leads into this and is like, we put horses on elevators is what we do. And you're like, okay.
Like the final thing to say about like the action sequences is one of the bits of trivia is this is the only movie in James Cameron's career that was nominated for special effects that an Academy Award for special effects that didn't win.
Boy, what won in '94?
I don't know. That's a good question, but
it
was like every special effects movie James Cameron has done, he's like innovated something, and this was like actually a really important movie in special effects because like
it lost to Jurassic Park.
Okay, well that's fair.
That's fair.
That seems fair. But yeah, like this one used computer compositing, like for the Harrier jet and like just the seamlessness between the practical effects. Like that Harrier jet that they're flying around that final scene was a full scale model that was on a crane, and so they're able to paint out. Anyways, it's a top-notch action and special effects throughout the thing.
It might have been Forrest Gump. It's either Jurassic. I think it's actually Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll figure that out and we'll get to it.
And then it ends with showing like that Helen is now kind of integrated into the Omega department, and they do a callback to the tango scene, which is basically a replication, except it's Harry and Helen dancing the tango. And apparently, I don't know if you watched the full thing, but like as they're pulling back, like there's a part where Jamie Lee Curtis actually falls down, just because her legs were so tired. Apparently, like that is because her legs were so tired from doing that scene over and over and over again that was genuinely like her falling down, and she was angry that was kept in. But it was good for the character.
I thought it was kind of hot.
Yeah,
I was like, ooh, hey.
All right, so
no, it did lose to Forrest Gump. Which kind of like
yeah,
wait, really,
whatever.
All right.
So great movie. I mean, I can't think of anyone that I wouldn't recommend this movie to.
This is crushing. It's such a good movie.
It just crushes. Okay, so let's move on to our game. We'll do this real quick. True Truths and a Lie. So, David, I'm gonna read you two truths and a lie about each of the main characters in this movie, and you're going to tell me which one is the lie. Okay?
I got it. Which is the lie?
Which is the lie? So there's two truths, one lie.
Got it.
Starting with Arnold Schwarzenegger, here's 3 facts about Arnold. He grew up in a house that had no phone, no fridge, and no toilet. He won the Mr. Olympia title 6 times.
Oh, I don't like this. Is unfair now. 6 times.
And was good friends with Andre the Giant.
I know him to be good friends with Andre the Giant because he was in Conan the Barbarian, or maybe the second one, The Destroyer. That's true. The Olympia one, if you're going to get me on one, it's the gotcha is 6 times. It was actually 7 or 5 or something like that. So I'll just say the lie is that one. The he won the Mr. Olympia 6 times.
You are correct. It was 7 times.
I knew it. See?
Saw through me right away. Yeah. He won from 1970 to 75 and also 1980.
Bryce loves to get you. It was 7. You didn't listen to the question. I didn't know how many times he won.
All right. Jamie Lee Curtis. In addition to being the spokesperson for Activia Yogurt, she has previously been in commercials for X-Lax. And number 2 has had her legs insured for $2 million. And 3 does not like acting in front of a green screen and says that's the reason she'll never be in a superhero film.
I am sure that's true because Jamie Lee is an opinionated person who is not afraid to like speak out about stuff that she has feelings about. So I know that's for sure. Man, phenomenal legs. Phenomenal legs. I can't even. So I could see that being true as well. I'll say the X-Lax one is a little too on brand. It's it's got a whiff to it, a little poop smell on it. So I'm gonna say the X-Lax one is the lie.
You're correct. 2 out of 2. Dang. Excellent job. Okay, next, Bill Paxton.
Rip in peace.
He learned to speak German to prepare for his role in Pat Benatar's music videos Shadows of the Night. Number 2, he was considered for the role of Dr. Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park, which went to Jeff Goldblum. Or number 3, in his research for the series Big Love, he met with missionaries from a fundamentalist Mormon sect.
Fundamentalist Mormon sect would never have missionaries. That's the lie.
God damn. You're right. I thought it was great that he learned to speak German for a music video.
I had heard the Jurassic Park one
really?
Not too long ago. Dude, Bill Paxton, low key, like he had a gifted life. He was like he had some cool shit happen and was a cool guy. Like everybody liked him.
Okay. Tom Arnold was convicted of trafficking cocaine and almost received a life sentence, but got a lighter sentence after handing over names of associate dealers. Number 2, the line in the line in
that 6ix9ine. He was like that Tekashi 6ix9ine kid,
Number 2, the line in True Lies where he describes his ex-wife taking all their belongings, including the ice trays, was based on his divorce with Roseanne during the same time. Or 3, worked as a bouncer and as an ordained minister.
I could see him working as a bouncer and an ordained minister.
Mm-hmm.
I could also see the first one being true, where he cocaine. Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna say the ice trays is the lie.
Wrong. That's actually true.
I could see it being true too.
That line was literally because Tom Arnold told Arnold Schwarzenegger that story, and then
that is amazing.
Schwarzenegger relayed that to cameras, and said what kind of a bitch
in the movie?
What kind of a bitch steals the ice trays? And then James was like, that line has to be in it. That's such a perfect line. No, the lie was that he was convicted of trafficking cocaine and almost received a life sentence, but got lighter sentence after handing over the names of associate dealers. That was actually Tim Allen.
Well, I mean, very parallel trajectories. Although not really. Tim Allen's quite successful now.
All right, so you've already won, but we got one left. Tia Carrera.
Yes. Number
1, posed for Playboy magazine. 2, is a descendant of Mulan. Or 3,
wait. What? Was that one?
She's a descendant of Mulan. You know the Mulan from Mulan? From
the movie? But she's a cartoon character.
No, it's based on a historical figure. You didn't know that?
No.
And then 3, as Cassandra Wong in Wayne's World, she performed all of her songs as the singer and was featured on the soundtrack.
That one is true. I own in our Wayne's World Pretentious review that we released last month, only on Patreon. I described that I owned the Wayne's World soundtrack, and I listened to it multiple times. I don't think she was featured on that soundtrack, though. I think it was regular old Cinderella. No, I think they had her wail. Whoa, man, was she wails? I think they had her wailing on there, if I recall. Okay, so I'm going to say that's true. And then the other two were, she's related to Mulan, and then also that she's
posed for Playboy.
I think she did pose for Playboy. I'm going to say she's not an ancestor of Mulan.
Good job. You're correct. So, yeah, 4 out of 5.
Hell yeah.
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 All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Two Truths and a Lie and for another excellent episode of Horror Movie Plus. Oh, baby. This episode was produced by me and edited by Fart Simpson. Thanks to our new patrons, Beatrice, Amanda M., Darren P., McKenna R., and Tim J. Please share this episode and the show with a friend. It really, really helps us out. And, if you want to help us out a little more, if you're going to buy anything on Amazon, go to horrormovietalk.com and click on the button in the top. And then we get a little taste of whatever you buy on Amazon. We'll see you next time. If you want to call us, call 682-253-4468. See yous all.
We love you. Have a good week.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing. Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is.
Just hit the stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror!
Wow, that didn't sound good.